a Marlins game, the people, even in the fancy schmancy seats behind home plate there, everybody's on their cell phone and nobody's watching the action. Nobody.
My friend George was asking how much would they pay you? How much would they have to pay to go to the game? And I laughed. I said, Defo used to go regularly. That
it's a good ballpark from viewing. Yes. The problem is crossing into Dade County. I mean, as soon as you cross into Dade County, the driving tactics are altered completely. It's like Formula One versus NASCAR from Broward to Dade.
Is it bad that I feel more comfortable there? Like I was there Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm just driving like a loon, and it's accepted.
I spent much time there, trust me.
Like I get into Broward, and I have to like control myself. And it's not like Broward's perfect. It's still South Florida, but it's
no. I mean, the drivers are awful. Probably. I mean, you would hear this in every city. Oh, man, nobody drives.
No. Miami's great. Miami, you can do like the stuff you would get honked.
You don't know
at.
if the guy next to you is passed away and is at the wheel. Like literally Weekend at Bernie's.
Like you pull moves anywhere, even in Broward. Like you cut someone off the middle finger, and I'm like, dude.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even do anything to you. But if you drive Miami like a lunatic, no one even notices. They're like, yeah, that's normal.
Very normal, yeah. I mean, the rules are suspended there of any kind of road etiquette. That's for sure.
They don't honk.
Tires are flying out of nowhere, even though they didn't come off any car. People are dropping stones from the bridges. The fuck?
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Good to be with you. Peel yourself off to my Monday here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest. We got Mike Lubie. Lubitz looking good today. Mike Lubie Lubitz. Uneventful weekend again on most fronts, you would have to say. A week ago we had the assassination attempt when we came on the air on Monday. And what happened? Biden says the big joke is, does he know that he actually dropped out of the race yet? Or does somebody have to tell him?
He's not. He's just old.
I know your feelings on this, Lubie, and I have the ticket. It seems obvious that Kamala Harris will end up being the nominee for president, which would make some sense if the Democrats had the foresight to go ahead and start really putting this woman out front a couple of years ago, thinking that, okay, thank God we beat Trump and got him out of there before he had a chance to do another 4 years of damage. And we got things sort of back on track. But this guy's not going to be able to go to distance for 8 years. Not everybody can do it, right? It'd be like the Tiger comeback. He wins a tournament. Okay, that was it. That's all he had. Shot fighter after that. And the likelihood that Biden at 81 was going to be able to keep his mental acumen together and do the job that is, you would have to say, how demanding is this job? Never mind, going out and campaigning on top of it. But that the likelihood he would be able to go the distance to 85 probably was pretty slim. So they probably should have been pumping this up a couple of years ago. No, Olivia, if they had done that, this would be a much more natural transition. And yet, I mean, it comes now as a shock. And I'm thinking, but I go all woman ticket. This is the year of the woman, is it not?
Oh, no, that's all right.
It's the year of the woman. I'm going Gretchen Whitmer as the vice president. You win Michigan, big swing state. This woman, I didn't know that much about her. I mean, I knew there was like some kind of weird kidnapping attempt made on her life. And I'm wasn't that familiar with her until I saw her in an interview the other day. And I thought, wow, this woman's pretty impressive, no? Unless she's full of shit. I mean, what do you think?
Whitmer's
no chance?
Yeah, she's her. I mean, they already won Black Woman, which was a horrendous idea. But you have to now. She literally raised $70 million yesterday. Like Trump has like barely double that total. She raised $70 million in one day. She's gonna be the nominee. She has to be the nominee. It's either gonna be Kelly. Swing state. You have the right idea, but you can't go double. You just can't go double woman. So you're going to go either.
You would then not garner every female vote, though? I mean, or the majority of them, especially against a guy who's a known scumbag when it comes to women?
She's going to be able to pound abortion and pound the criminal things that we wanted Biden to do. Harris is already doing it, so you don't
with some energy and some life to it.
You don't need another woman for that. But you do want to. You have the exact idea that which is what they're doing. It's either Kelly, the governor of Arizona. My problem with him is he looks like he's half an alien. And again, we're going with looks now, right? Biden looked old. So you sort of can't go with that.
Where are your, pointed, hooded, Nazi lovers going to go in that
he's
case?
Actually an astronaut, and he's a hero. And that's the kind of thing that would work like 20 years ago. But he looks old himself with the bald head, and I don't know. It's a weird look to me. But Kelly, the governor of Arizona, Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, and Bashir, the governor of Kentucky. Which to me, the Bashir is the one that's building steam, just because it's mathematically impossible for him to exist. He's a Democrat who's won governor not only in Kentucky once, and Kentucky's actually, they sound redneck, but I didn't realize it. Supposedly they're as red as any state has ever been in the history of this country, and they voted a Democrat not only governor once. I think he's the governor. Okay, fine, senator of Arizona, whatever. I don't. He's not going to be it, so it doesn't fucking matter.
Tell people not to get too heavily involved in semantics.
Bashir is not only one governor as a Democrat in Kentucky, he won re-election as governor as a Democrat in Kentucky, which is literally what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to make sure the independents and undecideds, who are Republicans, don't go fuck it's a black woman, because that's her issue, because she's impressive every other way. She has a laugh. And I think when they nitpick shit like that, I think that's dumb. Like Biden's stutter, I always thought was fucking stupid. But again, I'm informed, so I'm not the person they're targeting. But like her laugh makes her sound stupid or drunk. I don't give a fuck that she laughs. We actually need that. They need someone with energy. They need someone with charisma. So if she's laughing weirdly, I don't give a fuck about that. But like,
yeah, they needed somebody that wasn't going to have to, get oxygen after every statement.
I didn't think
that didn't look like he was a mafia guy on trial, with the wheelchair and
yeah, I mean, look, the Whitmer.
Unfortunate, but that's the way it went.
She's going to be the pick. Whitmer, literally everyone that was going to run against her, outside of Joe Manchin, who's a Republican. I mean,
he's a strange cat to me.
Oh, he's just a Republican. I mean, all of his stances are Republican, except for that he doesn't hate gay people. But the other stance, it's like RFK, like. They're Republicans from like the 80s, where they don't hate gay people or trans people, but everything.
But they don't want them around.
Yeah, everything they do is Republican. So, but outside of him, every single other person that would have, quote unquote, been up against her all endorsed her. So it's Harris at this point, and it's going to be one of those three guys, I think. I mean, the guy Cooper, the governor from Carolina, is another swing state. You're probably not going to win Carolina either way. But like Pennsylvania, you have a really good shot. Arizona, if you can get Kelly, it seems like you have a good shot. But you're not going to get Kentucky. But if you can get a guy who was somehow as a Democrat able to win Kentucky twice as a governor, like that's actually pretty. Like they're more red than we are. Like they're always red. Like
no, that is a hillbilly state. I've been there many times. Obviously, going to Churchill Downs for the Derby in Lexington. For the Keeneland races, and I've been there on other occasions as well. And wow, I mean, you talk about right wing, it's insane. So yeah, maybe that's a good sign. I don't know, Libby. It's a late pitching change.
I think it's ridiculous.
I don't know that they were taking a guy out of a no hit bid here, because it did appear that he was losing momentum badly, and all of the different circumstances that took place over the last couple of weeks had built. It seemed like, surprisingly, a wave of enthusiasm for this Nazi regime that wants to come in. But interesting weekend for sure, and we'll see what happens with that, transpires with that. Where you aren't inclined to, you don't get into these big golf tournaments, do you, Libby? Do you get involved in watching? I mean, I was fascinated by the now known as the Open, formerly the British Open, and it was great because you had very contentious, you had like 20 guys within a couple of shots of the lead. Going into the final round, and you didn't know what the final round was going to look like, because you never know what it's going to look like, because nobody in their right mind. Where is the Chamber of Commerce for Scotland or the United Kingdom, Louis? Are they in complete hiding today? We're talking about a disappearing act. They couldn't possibly feel good about what's gone on there over the last few months. I mean, the weather sucks. The professor was talking about this on the show on Friday. I thought it was brilliant. Weather sucks. The food sucks. The people all look like, I mean, can you live on ground beef, pork, and a big glop of potatoes, Lubie? Do you need to get some fruits and vegetables in your diet? I mean, is that why everybody looks so pasty when they're in the crowd there, or is it just because the weather sucks? Literally, I've been watching the United Kingdom action there, England and Scotland, whatever, for the last several weeks, going back to the beginning of Wimbledon. I don't think there's been one nice day. Does the sun ever shine there in the summertime? You go to the beach and you're thinking about, let me do this. Let me just walk out to the horizon and not come back, because life isn't worth living if I have to live it under these conditions. And yet I think the adverse conditions makes for a much more fascinating tournament, Libby, than were it to be played under pristine weather. conditions, and it was particularly brutal for the guys that were. You have to give credit to the guys who hung in there in the late going on Saturday, because nobody, you couldn't play anything. You wouldn't even be playing football in that weather, would you? Did you see any of this, Lubie, or
Yes,
did you miss the entire thing?
Horrendous. I mean, I kept an eye on the whole thing because of we talked about it Friday, and Shoffley's one we used to talk about years ago, and the fact that he's like risen to being contending with these things is crazy to me. So I kept an eye on it. The weather's always, it's just funny that the weather will suck and then like 20 minutes later be, so like whoever gets fucked being in the shitty weather is screwed, and then everyone else like gets the coast. Like, it's just weird how the weather is so dramatic and has such a dramatic effect on the whole thing.
Interesting too. I mean, almost an impossibility from a handicapping standpoint. The winner of the golf pool, the winning total for picking 7 players from these lists, which didn't include a couple of guys, because there were guys that you could have never predicted what were going to be among the leaders. That Thurston Howell guy, Tristan Lawrence. I guess he's had some success. He had like 4 wins on the DP Tour, which is the European Tour. No wins. I don't even know if he competes. Has he ever competed in the United States? There was zero familiarity. Kiridesh Effie Barnrat could have been out there, and he would have been more recognizable to us than some of these nondescript European schminks who were on the leaderboard. And then you had a great story there, because one thing about the Open is that it's okay to be an old geezer, which is why I guess you would have to come to the conclusion, Lubie, and unless something dramatically changes, that are you at the point, and there are many words being written about this and spoken about this, where Tiger Woods should just forget about going out there altogether? Or, I mean, I don't mind seeing a guy, an older player, as a token player, as long as you don't think he has a chance to win. And yet some of these old geezers end up contending very strongly all the way to the finish, including, would you consider Justin Rose to be an old geezer by golf standards? He's only like, what, 43 years old, something like that?
He's old, yeah.
Is that possible?
I didn't realize Justin Rose was that old. I mean, yeah, look, I don't mind. Again, we talked about the whole Tiger thing. It's fine if they just glimpse into him, and if he does get hot, then follow him. But to like make him a big deal before he even makes a cut at this point, that's now 3 straight cuts in May, and or 2 straight cuts.
3 straight. No, he's missed a cut in 3 majors, and he finished last when he made the cut in the Masters tournament. So it hasn't been an overwhelming, encouraging sign with Tiger Woods. I mean, is it okay? It's great. I don't mind seeing some of these guys out there, though, right? I mean, it got a little bit bizarre. It was cruel and unusual when they were wheeling Arnie out there at the tail end of his run of playing in the Masters tournament. You thought, come on, man, give the guy a fucking break. Let him hit the ceremonial first shot. And we all love the guy, so it's nice to see him out there. Tiger is a ceremonial player. I don't have a problem with that. Do you, Lubie? The guy earned his way into it, like he was when he fired back at Monty for saying he should stop playing in these tournaments. I don't know that he's taken up a spot that would go to somebody else who was more deserving, but how undeserving is he since he won the thing 3 times? And that's an automatic lifetime qualifier if you win the tournament. So as he said, hey, I'm qualified to play in this thing. Monty, shut your fat fucking face up and go eat another piece of shepherd's pie, you asshole. Nobody liked Monty. Monty's a good commentator, though. I don't know what happened. He was, I guess he's still doing it in Europe. But they had him on a couple of broadcasts that were carried here in the U.S. I thought the guy was great, even though everybody hated him. It's one of those guys that just could communicate the game, or seemed to, very well, and certainly was not immune to having suffered through the outrage that fans had when they were forced to watch a guy doing well who they didn't really care for. So, I thought he brought that across very well. But and his comments happen to be correct, but I don't know. Like you said, Lubie, it's because they make such a big deal out of it and try to give you the image.
Yep.
I mean, Tiger was 1 under par after 3 holes, and you would have thought he won the tournament. They actually wheeled the claret jug out there and were ready to stop the whole proceedings. But, Xander Schauffele, good job. I mean, he'd been knocking on the door for a while and never really broke through. Finally won the PGA, and now comes back and adds the Open. And you talk about he literally did win the thing too. It wasn't there weren't a lot to hold up under the conditions all throughout the tournament was pretty remarkable. I was going to say the golf pool, the winning total in the golf pool, with the list of the 7 different lists of 10 guys, some of whom, like some of the leaders, weren't on the list. This Lawrence wasn't on there. But the winning total was plus 10. Took down 4 dimes in this tournament for a $50 investment, plus 10. So that shows you that this was just bizarre. I mean, you could have had Shoffley. You could have played Justin Rose, I would think. But most people would have. And Scotty Scheffler had a very good account of himself, even though he didn't win the thing. He kind of ran into a rough go there in the middle of the final round when it looked like he was making a charge. John Rahm, I don't know that you would have taken a shot with him because his form seemed to be off, but he made a big run there in the very beginning of the day. And you thought, oh, shit, this fucking guy is going to win this thing? But no, Shoffley shooting, what did he have to shoot? 5 under, 6 under in the final day, 6 under.
Yeah.
Got to give him credit, man. The guy just came out there and won the thing. How many times we saw so many putts just kind of snake by the hole and then kick off, and they don't really end up like 9 feet away like they do sometimes in the United States. But nonetheless, I mean, it was crazy to think that you talk about millimeters and centimeters making a difference. Rose had about a half a dozen of those, even in the final round, that were just sitting there on the edge of the cup, and you're thinking, drop already. And he couldn't pull it off. So it really did deliver all the way around, except that you would never want to go there, would you, Lubie? Any desire to go to England? Any desire I had to go to England went right out the window. I don't have enough time to go to a country where the weather is like shit all the time. And the people genuinely look miserable there unless I think about this. Warm beer, Lubie? Are you kidding me? What kind of concept is that? Warm beer? Does anybody like that? Warm beer. I want that thing just short of being a block of ice when I get home from my walk of life.
Hey, even in my college days when I was drinking beer 5 or 6 days a week, I couldn't stand warm. Like warm beer's rough. It's just, warm beer is not something I'm.
Why not just drink a urine sample?
Yeah, I can't do warm beer.
Yeah, I mean, just go ahead, pee in the cup, and knock it down there. It's similar in color, not necessarily in taste. But, you may as well be like Juan Manuel Marquez, right? Remember when he was training for a fight with Pacquiao, and they showed him this was one of the things he did to help him strengthen his overall stamina. He was like drinking his own piss, this guy. And I'm thinking, I don't even care if that works. I'd rather get knocked out than go that route. But, the warm beer and the whole thing, just ugly overall. No desire to go to England. Except they do stage some very exciting sporting events with all the pomp and circumstance. They still believe in the royal fucking family. Come on. How far gone are these people? All right. We talked about this a little bit on our morning briefing on No Filter, Lubie, and I didn't see any of this, and I was shocked to see that this is what transpired. Now you do catch this from time to time, especially with this dream team concept that the NBA players have as representing the United States of America. And would you say, is it all marketing, or do they genuinely feel this passion for the country, Lubie? What would you say is a more true sentiment? Are they selling sneakers or selling patriotism? What do you think?
I mean, I think in the 90s, the patriotism was a big thing. I think now it's just, I don't look.
LeBron James, he couldn't use the time off.
You still have LeBron and Curry doing it, and they're older, and Durant doing it, and they're older. So there must be something to it in that regard. It's not for money or anything, but I don't know. It feels less about America than it did in the 90s. Like I feel like the 90s group, they made it a big about the dream team, the American dream. Like now it's just sort of trying to keep the status quo there. Like, okay, put a good enough team together that we should be able to go over there and get a gold.
Shouldn't you be able to take any team? I know there are European players all throughout the NBA now, and players from other countries that weren't prominent in the NBA before. And look at France, right? I mean, could they not put on a representative team? They had the first 2 picks in the draft this year, and Wembanyama last year, number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
What was a guy's first name? Frederick Weiss. Remember that guy?
That was, what was it? The Knicks or whatever. The guy that got
Knicks drafted him. Yeah, they drafted him out of nowhere. I saw something with him last night. I don't know. I was watching some sports show, and there was Frederick Weiss. They had a whole big piece on the guy. Very interesting character. But I mean, so you could see where, and every now and then you had some star from a European team that didn't really, or even a South American team that didn't equate out to being an NBA player, but nonetheless, what was a great player and respected. But teams from the other countries had like maybe one of these guys. You would think that if you just took the United States players, you could take any group of scrubs from the NBA and win. What would you not? Believe that would be the case. That you wouldn't even need this level of superstardom to go out there and take care of business when it came to beating these other countries.
You thought that turned out to be not true. Definitely superstars.
Would that be like the dumbest concept I've ever tried?
Well, no, it seemed to be true years ago, and then you had that Iverson team that had a bunch of NBA.
Yeah, players. I mean, how did they lose?
But they struggled mightily because they weren't stars. So they've ever since gotten back to it. They've won, I guess, 5 in a row, or they're looking for their 5th gold in a row. And they have stars, and they're still struggling. So we'll see. I presume they'll win the gold. I think they're just fucking around. It's prelims, but
South Sudan. I mean, should there not be an investigation?
That's weird. What do you mean? It was like they were like laying 45 or something. Like, I don't even want to know.
I think the line might have been 43 and a hook or 44 and a hook. I wouldn't have even thought there was a line on that game. And then what if you were the one guy that had South Sudan on the money line?
What is the money line on that? Like, I don't even know. What is that?
It's got to be like 100-1 or more, no? 44 points in a basketball game? Do they play? What do they play? 12-minute quarters? What do they do in international play?
I think so. I think they play normal, like, professional basketball time. But yeah, what do you mean? They had to leave with 20 seconds, South Sudan. Like, I can't even imagine having the money line in that fucking game.
Everybody's 7 feet tall in that team. I thought maybe what isn't Manute Ball? Was he like the coach?
Wasn't Dang started the
Sudan. Luol Deng.
Again, he was in the pros 15, 20 years. Like, Luol Deng went over there years ago and made that a huge deal to the point where they've actually put together a really nice program, and that's amazing. It still shouldn't compete with the American fucking Olympic team. Like, I'm sorry, it shouldn't.
That was unfortunate, though. I mean, not only did they end up losing the game for the poor sap that had them on the money line, but now everybody's going to be betting these guys. The lines that normally would have been very low. I know. Are you not going to be sending it in on South Sudan against virtually anybody if they could take the States to the buzzer before it took LeBron James to make a layup? I mean, your number one basketball player possibly of all time, still closer to his prime than people would care to think.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what it takes to beat South Sudan. This was Georgia going against Arkansas Little Rock, wasn't it, Lubie? Maybe a bigger mismatch than that. In a football game, I don't know that 44 points would have been the spread.
This was their easiest like, they've struggled in, like, what was it, Australia? They only beat by like 6.
Yeah.
But like, they found a way to get control. In this game, they got a little bit of control where they went up by like 5, and then that's what it was. They were up by like 7. They were up by 6 with like 2 minutes left, and then it fell apart to the point where they were down 1 with 20 seconds left. I don't know. I think they'll figure it out and be fine. But the struggle like that for South Sudan is telling, and it is sort of an issue.
Hell, man. I really that's a concept I've pushed away and brushed aside forever. That the rest of the world has caught up with the United States and bet this is our fucking game. If you want to tell me that we suck at soccer, I'm inclined to believe you 1,000%. That we'll never be any good at this thing. But and I understand. Look, that they have some big ass dudes all around the world and guys who can shoot. It was usually like a shooter that you saw on their European teams. Mm-hmm. That you would think, oh my God, I mean, this guy can really shoot. But you rarely saw these kind of dominant big men. And now it's fairly prevalent, right? I mean, look, you go against Serbia, you're playing against Jokic and Jovic and all of these guys. Even Novak Djokovic, I think, has a spot on the team. So you're meeting some decent opposition. It just seems like the United States should be. Are they not overwhelming favorites to win the gold medal, Lubie? Or what would you find that's somewhat suspect now?
They're the overwhelming favorites because every other, even like where you have Doncic on a team, you have Jokic on a team, you have Giannis on a team. Their teams have the talent spread out, whereas in America, you still have the talent, Booker with.
You got like Booker coming off the bench, for Christ's sake.
Even though Embiid's struggling, you have Bam and AD being able to play at the same time.
My God.
You have LeBron, you have KD coming off the bench, you have Edward. Like they still have everyone outside of. I mean, everyone's an NBA All-Star, which no other country has any. I don't even know.
How the hell could they lose?
So they'll win, and I think they'll figure it out. It's just to see them play like that in prelims is weird.
Did that create any added level of interest in watching Olympic basketball once it gets underway? What are we, like a week away from the Olympic Games getting underway?
Oh, I
haven't really gotten my Olympic fever going yet. I will watch, I would imagine, a substantial portion of the Olympics, and they'll be they're spread out over 1,000 channels, aren't they? Yeah, and I would imagine also NBC still has the Olympics.
It's NBC. It starts this week, I guess. They're saying July 26th. I didn't realize.
So that's Friday.
So that actually makes sense because you have nothing else right now. I mean, I guess you have baseball, but no one gives a fuck about baseball. Like, that actually is perfect timing because even though I haven't paid attention to the Olympics in years, literally, I guess NFL preseason starts and people are fucking weird about that. I guess that's true, but for a few days, you won't have NFL preseason.
Would you watch an NFL preseason game over a highlighted Olympic event, some kind of important track and field day or a basketball game, even a women's basketball game in the Olympics? Would you watch an NFL preseason game over that?
One of the things I used to give a shit about, even though I don't watch Olympics like I used to, I would watch that over fucking the NFL preseason's rough. Like, especially the first games. The first games are, it's
first game's an atrocity. I mean,
it's arena. It's watching the arena or whatever the XFL or whatever the hell this league is. That's what it is. It's guys that won't be in the NFL. But watching the first games are utterly
well, and then you only have 3 now, which is a big differential because there was always this marketing ploy that somehow the third preseason game was of some significance. And I don't know. Did you buy that? There was reason to believe it. I mean, you were probably going to see a quarter to a quarter and a half of football that might be representative of what the team would look like in the regular season. And then, it was sending the clowns later on in the ball game. And, of course, the fourth game was a total throwaway. But, I don't know. I mean, how compelling is the preseason now? I think it is even more meaningless than ever in the National Football League. You just, as always with this sort of thing, you're just hoping nobody significant gets hurt. And that's it. They paid even less attention to it. The only guy that gives a shit is John Harbaugh, right? Bet Harbaugh in every game, and you're in pretty good shape.
Yep.
How is that ever going to turn around? No, he seems to be obsessed. I don't know why. I mean, with winning in the preseason. John Harbaugh, who yesterday declared that Lamar Jackson will go down as the greatest quarterback of all time.
That's not true, but...
Not a bit of a stretch, you think? Because he had to make an excuse that he missed practice?
He's not. He's turned out to be much better than people like me thought he would be.
Yeah.
He's one of the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks right now. I mean, he really shouldn't be because every time in the playoffs, he fucking loses and falls apart, but his regular seasons are strong enough. He's won 2 MVPs that you have to sort of put him in that top 6. But I mean, he's not an all. I mean, just his struggles, his postseason struggles alone. Like say whatever you want about Marino. Like Lamar Jackson literally has the perfect team around him. Has his whole career. He's had really good offensive lines, really good run games, really good defenses. His entire career, a really good coach's entire career. And has made 1 conference championship. And that one was this year when he only had to win 1 playoff game, and he looked like utter ass for like
the Chiefs defense. This guy, to the point where
he's not even.
He looked beyond subordinary. I mean, it was sad to see. He looked like you had to go with your 3rd string quarterback in the game. All right, there you go. We're already off on the NFL. The Olympics haven't started yet. I guess the Frederick Weiss thing was because they were doing a feature on ESPN about the French team, and
it's definitely better. It's grown,
and I think Weiss also will be, or he did. Did they already start carrying the torch from Parts Unknown towards the arena? How long does that go on for?
I don't know, but it's Friday. Yeah, I mean it's definitely at least a week, if not longer. Isn't it like weeks? Because it goes through like villages and little cities, and it's got to be.
I think Leslie Visser carried the torch at one point.
I know she did.
Yeah. What Olympics was that for?
No.
Did she pass the torch to Ali at the Atlanta Games?
No.
That would have been quite a distinction. All right, we're going to come back with more. Baseball did get back underway. I don't know. It's interesting, Lubie. You don't find baseball of any interest at all? Is that just because of your lack of interest in the local team, which did spank the Mets 2 out of 3 times, losing only that 1-0 game, which was unfortunate, a well-played game. Our man Berger has awakened from the dead. I don't know that he's going to have the kind of season that he did, or second, part of the season that he did last year when he was traded to the Marlins, and really came on. Remember when they got him from the White Sox? You're thinking, who the fuck is this guy, right? 220 hitter with 20 homers, great. And what a spark he and Bell provided when they came over. But that hasn't been there so far this year. And your man Jazz Chisholm had a 3-run homer yesterday.
Oh, of course he did.
As they continue to showcase him and dangle him in front of the Yankees and say, you could have this at second base. Tanner Scott, man, that guy is great coming out of the bullpen. It's unfortunate that we will only see him play for like a couple of more. When's the trade deadline? Is it more than a week away? In Major League Baseball, we should know this. Isn't it sometime in July? Trade deadline, Major League Baseball, because there are bound to be many, many heavy transactions, including the complete dismantling
July
of the
30th,
team.
so next week. So next Tuesday.
All right, so it's coming up. So who else is for sale there? Just about everybody?
I mean, Marlins, yeah. I mean, Luzardo, that's the other one you've heard this whole year. I know he's flirted with injuries, but Miami's own Luzardo is probably going to be somewhere because people can always use arms.
Sure. I mean, if he comes into your rotation as a 4th or 5th starter, if you're a contending team, you're feeling pretty good about it. Although, who knows what it's going to be, because he really, even though he started out well this year, he's never really sustained over a long period of time that level of excellence that he seems like he's capable of. All right, we're going to come back with more. There we go. A little baseball analysis here on the program, Lubie. Pretty good. As we come out of the All-Star break and into the pennant races, which... I don't know. I mean, what do you think? I'm thinking about my buddy Dylan, who, if the Dodgers get home in the World Series, he wins $96,000 for that $100 wager that he made.
Nice.
Where he picked the championship in the NCAA, the NHL, the NBA, and he has the Dodgers to win the World Series to close it out.
Well, good for him.
Imagine that. 96 times.
Good for him.
It usually happens to guys that don't need the money. That doesn't happen to like Larry the Leaper, right?
Yes.
He gets crushed like a grape when they lose in the 7th game on a extra innings single up the middle there that brings home the winning run. All right, we're coming back with more here on a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz with you. And Southern Sudan, Lubie, you're not a believer, huh? I thought that would make you a firm believer that these guys are worth a wager each and every time. Back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
And how about that first shot, man? Justin Thomas, I was only interested because the professor had money on him.
Yep.
And he had a shot, right? I mean, he had a chance. First shot. Wow. Man, and then you see everybody pointing left. What about the agony over those missed putts, too? They always do that thing where the golfers look exasperated and they're like, they throw their arms in the air and then they're like motioning like this, like they were a third base coach or something. And you saw that like a zillion times happening, especially with Shane Lowry, who just couldn't find the bottom of the cup there yesterday. All right, back with more in a moment. Now that I think you did that already, Libby. Very good. It's 8:36.
Here, let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Hear me. I am your new president. From this day on, the official language of San Marcos will be Swedish. Silence. In addition to that, all citizens will be required to change their underwear every half hour. Underwear will be worn on the outside so we can check. Furthermore, all children under 16 years old are now 16 years old.
What's the Spanish word for straitjacket?
Power has driven him mad.
Welcome back to The Defo Show.
Life imitating art. It's amazing. That thing was like, 50 years ago, this movie, Bananas? Is it possible? That was in the 70s that came out? My God, Libby. That scene always stuck with me. And unfortunately, it's being played out here on the modern-day political stage. Welcome back to the show. Good to be with you guys. Jeff DeForest, we got Mike Lubie. Peel yourself off the mat Monday. As we were speculating about many things. Bizarre, of course, couple of weeks on the political front. Lubie, what do you think? I mean, the poll numbers showed that Harris was like only slightly behind the Trumpster, and that I'm not sure. I mean, you'll see different numerical counts there. I don't see many that favor the Democratic ticket at this point. And, it is frightening to me because I was just thinking about this J.D. Vance guy. My God. I mean, wouldn't you just use his previous opinions that he expressed profusely that he thought Trump was a monster?
Yes.
Wouldn't you just, sprinkle that all over your ad campaign?
I mean, look, it's good that they're going to have Harris is a candidate. They'll have like almost $300 million to work. So Trump doesn't have anything near that. They'll have more than double, I think, what Trump has.
Is that going to work? I mean, can they do it?
That's what they're going to have to do. I mean, to me, it's why I thought Biden would be fine. I think in the end, it's about Trump, no matter who the candidate was. And the fact that it's close tells you how insane the world we are today is, because even people voting for Trump, most of them hate him. So it's like, okay, like at least we like our candidates. So like, why can't you get people to vote for them? Whatever Harris, Biden, Trump's a mad person. It just like every time he talks, well, there's a lighter Trump. It's a better. No, it's not.
He's flat out of his mind. He really is.
Trump. Well, just watch. Really? Okay. So then he comes out and does 20 minutes where he's almost sane, and then a fucking hour where he's a raving lunatic. And now he's spoken 3 times since, and every time he's spoken, it's incoherent drivel. It doesn't even he literally just says random shit that doesn't make any sense together. And it's like, and you're focusing on, that was my problem with the Biden stuff. It's not that he's old. It's that if he's whatever he is, this guy's still worse though. Like, why aren't you focusing on this fucking guy? That's the only reason I'm okay with the switch. It's like, okay, well, you now focus on him. Like you got rid of Biden, which was your dream, your wet dream. You now have Harris and whoever the fuck you'll have with Harris. Can you now focus on Trump? Like, the idea is he's an actual candidate. Like, around the world, they're like, that's a fucking candidate to lead the free world. It's like, yes, he's actually
a cartoon character. Yeah, exactly. An actor out on loan, as the song went many years ago. The great Jim Morrison, one of the great lyrics of all time, like an actor out on loan. That was what we thought about Reagan.
Yeah, Reagan was a fucking
nobody learned their lesson. That's for sure. This is a whole different ballgame. But anyway, certainly changed. I mean, you talk about Jim Leland making the Hall of Fame. He was one of those guys that would have come out with the hook on Joe Biden. No doubt about it. I mean, Biden could have had a no-hitter going for 8 2/3. And here comes Leland, because was he not a bit of a cookie-cutter manager, Jim Leland? Was he a guy that you considered was managing from instinct? Even though he seemed like one of these gruff, old school guys that was somewhat unapproachable, he actually, was a pretty decent guy to most of the people that knew him. And of course, I particularly was fond of him because, as we were talking about earlier this morning on our No Filter show, I will never forget being in the announcer's booth at Calder Racecourse. I was hanging out with the great Phil Saltzman, and this was, I guess, either 96 or 97 when they won the World Series. And it was, some schwitzy day in August. I was just in the booth there to get in some air conditioning because we used to hang out and smoke dope on the roof garden there, and not thinking for a second that there might be cameras or whatever. No, why would security have anything up there? I mean, it was almost like the Secret Service was running the place. And anyway, so I go in to duck inside to soak up some AC, and the phone rings, and Phil was making an announcement. So, he kind of motioned me to answer the phone because, you always have to be on top of it if you're the track announcer. It could be the stewards with some last-second announcement that absolutely needs to be made. Otherwise, you're going to scorch all of the bettors, and they will lose faith in your system and have something to complain about, which is never good. And sure enough, it's Jim Leland. And so I give the phone to Phil, and he's sending in bets while the game is on over to call the race course. So I'll never, lose respect for the guy. And I guess you very eloquently pointed out why he would qualify as a Hall of Famer. Lubie, the one World Series championship, but did take other teams to the brink of winning championships, as loaded as they may have been, including that Pittsburgh. How did he never win a title with the Pittsburgh Pirates, though? Would that be something? I mean, if this was subjected to the normal sports talk scrutiny, is Leland just on longevity? Is he in the Hall of Fame with the one title enough to sort of justify the idea that you can't be a Hall of Famer necessarily without winning some championships, especially as a manager? Maybe as a player that doesn't apply as much.
I mean, if you do it for a long period of time, he won with the Pirates, he won with the Marlins, he then won with the Tigers, and I think they went to a World Series and they lost, and they went to ALCS and they were good. I mean, he just had a track record of winning, and he did win a title with the Marlins. To me, I mean, it seems like he's a Hall of Famer. I don't.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Much debate about Jim Leland.
He was an uninspiring class. I don't know what kind of baseball aficionado did you have to be to appreciate this year's Hall of Fame induction class, where you had Joe Mauer.
Yeah,
Joe Mauer. I mean, he played mostly with the Twins, that guy, or was it all with the Twins?
He was great for a really short period of time, and then he was always hurt.
Yeah.
So to me, he felt like one of those guys that was in the Hall of Very Good, where he had a really great 4 or 5 years, but the problem was after that he was hurt every year. So to put him in the Hall of Fame is a little tough for me, but I mean, he's a null, or he was almost a null, so I'll take it.
All right. Well, sentiment entering into your unbiased opinion on that. I don't know. I mean, I remember he was being touted for his brilliance there. Like you said, for a short period of time, the guy was really, really good. Todd Helton, Adrian Beltre, not necessarily overwhelmingly inspiring. I don't know. What do you think, Lubie? You were talking about this. I mean, do they have to just lift the ban on the steroid guys to infuse a little more enthusiasm into these Hall of Fame ceremonies? Because if it wasn't for the fact that I saw some pictures online from the lovely Kerry Ross, who was in attendance there, because Leland and Dave Dombrowski super close. Dombrowski employing Leland a couple of times, and with great success, right? I mean, I won the championship with the Marlins. And then they end up in Detroit together, and Leland had great success there with the Tigers, who had enjoyed that type of success since Gates Brown was a rookie.
No, they were horrible for decades until that pairing, and then they were good for 3 or 4 years, 5 years.
Denny McLean and Lolich were the last time they were relevant, and that was what? 60s, Lubie? When the hell was that? That was a long, long time ago. Remember that? Mickey Lolich, the left-hander. What, he win 3 games in the World Series? Unbelievable. But I haven't been much for a long, long time. So they had that brief period of success, and Leland was a part of that. And I mean, I don't know that anybody could be outraged that this guy was in the Hall of Fame. But do they need to put the juicers back in there to put a little more enthusiasm in these ceremonies? So Kerry Ross and Dombrowski were in attendance, and Leland was very, very well respected inside the game of baseball for sure. And what was, unfortunately, one of the early advocates of the endless righty-lefty switches, where what did he school Tony La Russa in that?
Or was it vice versa? Wasn't he a La Russa guy, or was it? I know they were best friends, so I don't know who was the mentor to the mentee in that relationship. But yeah, they were very much cut from the same cloth.
Leland was one of those guys. I mean, he looked old when he was young, didn't he?
Yes, he was. He always looked fucking old. He always had that like glove mitt beat.
Yeah, like he was drinking all night, literally, like not even good stuff, moonshine or straining aqua velva through bread or something. But it had that stubble, and you're thinking, wow, this is a real salty dog manager for sure. So yeah, that was part of it. I don't know about the juicers. Is it time that we just raised the curtain on that, Lubie, and
That's whatever.
forgot about it? I mean, it was an entire era of baseball. Most people are of the opinion that were these guys not using juice. I don't know how you feel about Sammy Sosa in that category, but were they not juicing? They would have been Hall of Famers anyway. When you're talking about the common guys that
Clemens and Bonds,
A-Rod. I mean, A-Rod. I don't know about A-Rod. He was juicing when he was in elementary school, I think.
The problem is we don't know when, like Mark McGwire was hitting bombs when he was thin.
Yeah.
And then kept doing it when he was big. But did he need to get I don't know. I don't really. I got sick of playing the juice yay or nay game. To me, we don't know who was on it, who wasn't on it, whether it was pitchers or hitters. It felt like a really high percentage of players.
It seemed like it was somewhat obvious, though, as to guys that you could say with relative certainty were juicing. I never will forget the virtual topographical map that McGuire's back looked like when I saw him in the locker room. I was trying to get a couple of clips when he was at about 55 or something in the home run chase in '98. And they played some late season games against the Marlins. That was when the famous picture occurred where the Marlins, who had nobody at the ballpark in 1998, I can assure you, because I was one of the few people that went to some games, I still sustained my season ticket package in spite of the fact that we knew that they were going to absolutely blow. And so I went to a bunch of games, and the whole McGwire party came there late. I mean, was it September? It sounds like a Rod Stewart song. It was late September. Really should have been back at school. And remember when the guy was diving into the tarp there that was covering this gap in center field between the two the stands weren't connected, and the guy like dove after the McGwire home run ball, and he fell right through the fucking tarp. Why are we laughing about that? I mean, what was he not seriously hurt? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't remember.
That was insane. So I'm thinking, wow, Lubie. I mean, me, you know, I hate going and doing locker room coverage, especially at that. I mean, this was. I just hated waiting around for a guy to give you a bunch of blow off answers to simple questions when all you needed was, and then you'd be fudging the quotes anyway. I don't know. Do you think any of these reporters, when they were taking like shorthand, actually could transcribe exactly what the guy said? Lubie, what do you think? All of these old school guys, before they had like a little, tape recorder you could stick in a guy's face with your phone. What do you, I mean, I never knew what the hell I wrote down. Did you ever have to do that where you were writing notes as the guy was speaking? Oh, you froze on me, Lubie. Hopefully you're there. There you are. All right. Coming back. Yeah. So you did do some of this type of report? No, you never did. There were recorders at that point in time. You would, and plus, you were not like writing an article after covering a game. You were coming back and bringing back what they is known as a business's sound. I think I lost you there, Lubie. All right, so hopefully we're still here. Maybe somebody on the chat line can let us know that this thing is still going. Who's on, who's off? Because it could be me. It could be Lubie. It could be virtually anything. So we'll see if we can get this straightened out. I don't know. Can we throw it to a break, Lubie, and come back on this thing? Or are you completely gone at this point? Gone? Yeah, no, he's frozen solid. All right. Anyway, there you go. All right, I lost them all together. See if we can get this fixed up, folks, if you're still with us. There's Lubie on the other side. Lubie?
Yes.
There you are. Okay, very good. That was a strange moment in broadcasting. I mean, was it you that was frozen? Me that was frozen?
And then knocked me out, so I went and came back. Just to finish, I never took notes while reporting, but I did have a recorder. They always had the little recorder, and then eventually my phone did it, so I just used the phone and I would just take cuts. I never had to like transcribe fucking audio, which I know people did back in the day, which
it was impossible. I mean, to get the quote exactly right.
I find that ridiculous.
Everybody was misquoted.
Exactly.
I mean, if you wanted to be technical about it, it's not like you change the context of what the guy said. But
Yeah.
I can't even read the notes I made to myself. When I had plenty of time this morning, sitting here like a half hour before we got started. So to be able to transcribe that was impossible. But I'm in the locker room, and there's McGuire. He takes his shirt off. He was in like kind of. I don't know that he was hiding out from the media, but he was in that restricted area you can't go into with the trainer. And I'm looking at this guy. I have never seen zits like that in my life, Lubie, on a grown man. Have you? I mean, I'm talking about literally. You would have thought it was a topographical map. Just, lumps. It's like, oh, what's that? The Pyrenees? I thought I saw Lance Armstrong. Which, by the way, I mean, do you know the name of this cat? He won 3 of the last 4 Tour de France's. Would it be Tour de France's or just Tour de France? And that's plural in and of itself. I'm not sure.
Tour de France's, I think.
Tour de France's.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody gives a fuck about this. I mean, do you even know the guy's name? It's amazing how this has fallen from the spotlight since the disaster that was the aftermath of the Lance Armstrong story. No, I mean, I don't even think John Tesh writes music for this shit anymore. They just use like the Exorcist music as they're showing these guys. And I mean, he's won 3 out of 4, which you would have to think would be a remarkable accomplishment, no? And yet nobody. I saw his name. It starts with a P. I have no idea who this guy is. But did they televise that anywhere? Remember that used to be on like ABC, Wide World of Sports. Well, we have the conclusion of the Tour de France. What was the mountain stage? What was your favorite part of that thing? I always liked the time trials where they had the little aerodynamic hats on and they were like flying, going 150 miles, across just a flat land there. And the people getting in the way, that was always a little bit.
I thought that was
frightening. Yeah.
When they would ride right down and there'd be people everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it was like my run up Sutphin Boulevard. Like all of a sudden, these people jump out of places, dark alleyways, and say, "Oh, you got any money on you, kid?" Like, what the fuck? What are you doing in the middle? I mean, and then it would be in like bizarre places where you wouldn't think spectators would be. Up in the middle of the Pyrenees, it was crazy. But the event has definitely fallen off the local and national, international. Maybe internationally, it's big. Is it still big? Cycling was the most crooked sport, I think. I don't know that there was any other sport that was more tainted, except maybe the judging in figure skating, than international cycling.
I mean, it's up there. It's right. I mean, because it's ingrained in the sport, the cheating. So that's why the cheating. FIFA has their issues, NCAA has their issues, boxing definitely has their issues. But like cycling, it was almost when you found out after and you watched the docs and all that it was just sort of ingrained that like one dude or 2 or 3 would be cheating and you'd pick who would get to win and the team would like it's the whole thing. The whole sport itself just felt weird and dirty.
It reeked. I mean, of just impropriety. It was as unscrupulous a game as you could possibly be in, and you were wondering. I guess the acclaim that came with it. Look, Lance Armstrong probably had. Does he still have plenty of capital, Lance Armstrong, or is he on the balls of his ass?
No, he made lots of money. He just is a pariah.
Yeah, the way he treated Sheryl Crow, I mean, was
everyone. I mean, he called people a liar. He ruined their reputation. Because they challenged him, even though they were telling the truth.
Oh, didn't he get that guy fired, the UPS driver or something?
Like a lot of people. He was just a scumbag and a piece of garbage, but he made lots of money, and I don't think he was forced to give up the money he made. I mean, he made the money.
Yeah. So he's rolling around there, living a high life, even though
he's a piece of garbage. Yes.
Piece of trash. Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to cheat, but to bury everybody else in the process.
Yes.
Kind of like, there's a little parallel there and maybe a slightly different level to what's going on with the Republican Party. Not that we have a strong opinion either way on who should win the election upcoming. But, bizarre weekend there. What were the odds on that? Anybody cash a ticket? Joe B stepping aside?
I mean, most people had it happening. I was one of the lone standing there listening to people defending him until the last second. So I presumed you wouldn't have gotten great odds because by the weekend people started to assume it was going to happen. I didn't think it made any fucking sense, and I still struggle to see the sense because it's going to be someone that was already on the ticket. So that's what I like to do that to get Harris. You already had Harris.
Yeah. When they lost Clooney, though, that was it.
Whatever. They lost a lot of people, and I don't understand. I understand he was old. Okay. I hope that works.
It wasn't a good look, unfortunately, Lubie. I mean, as much as I wish that it hadn't happened, it wasn't a good look. That one clip of him in the debate, and then all of the subsequent stuff where I know he made a little bit of a decent showing at a couple of those rallies, but it just wasn't there. I mean, look, I would think any competent person would hammer Trump in a debate. The guy is just spewing out nonsense.
Yes. The way that
hammer the guy. I mean, just absolutely destroy him and go ahead and sort of just carve him up.
Yeah, because
and it would be easy because I mean he has nothing to say. There's no platform there except this Project 2025. But yeah, when he, I mean, those were scary moments, Lubie. They really were, unfortunately, and impossible it turned out to recover from. All right, so we'll see how that plays out. Would you bet Harris? Not to be the nominee, but to win the election, Lubie. Would you take a price on that, or demand a price on that?
I hope, but she's going to lose. She doesn't stack up well against Trump. It was the whole thing stupid. Biden was the only one that can beat Trump, and that's still the fact. Like people don't like it. He looked old. Okay, Trump looks old too. The Republicans got past that he was old. I don't know why the Dems couldn't get past that Biden was old. He's the only one that's going to. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the fact that she made $70 million in one day beats any from either side. No, neither side has never done anything close to that. Yeah. So there's a groundswell. Women are excited. Minorities are excited. Young people are excited. Those are supposedly the people and I say we need for the Dems to not only win, the Dems to win easy. When those people vote, supposedly, the Dems not only win, the Dems win going away. So maybe I'm wrong. I hope this groundswell continues. The problem is those are the three groups that usually fucking wane and usually don't vote. So that's why, to me, to rally those groups, it's the dream, but it usually becomes a nightmare because they don't sustain their excitement. Unlike the Republicans who can just be excited for months on end, even though their candidate is literally not anything. Like he's just a raving lunatic who is stupid on top of being a raving lunatic, and he's old and he's a criminal. They can keep their excitement. Women, minorities, young, never do. They literally half the time don't even fucking vote because they need the dream candidate. I hope she's it. I don't know. I'm extremely skeptical and cynical about the entire move, and we'll see. So supposedly the groundswell's there. Okay, I hope they're right. I hope they made the move that they felt had to happen, and I hope it's the move that leads that scumbag away. Because I don't give a shit who the candidate was. That's the funny thing is I never wanted Biden. I don't give a fuck about Biden. I think he was a great president in the end, and I think what he wants to do in his next tenure is the kind of thing that would make America actually great. But I didn't give a fuck about Biden. It's who can beat Trump. That's really all I care about. So
I'm with you.
Trump, let's go for it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Any way to get rid of this thing is the lingering damage still there from the first term, right? Where and everybody's always asking, are you better off than you were? I mean, look, all things change. But I don't know what kind of a crush of suppression we'd be under if Trump had won again. I mean, you would say, well, maybe the good news is that he'd be gone by now if he had just run in consecutive terms. But the damage, I think, would be irreparable. Kind of like they say, in a dissolution of marriage case, irreparable damage has been done. All right, we got to get out of here. We've done enough damage today. I hope you guys enjoy the sporting life. A lot of things up on tap on the horizon. A great conclusion there. It was fantastic. That open finish was terrific and real grind all the way through. Lots of people in contention and a lot of different circumstances that had to be overcome by the guys who eventually won. And a lot of superstars went by the wayside early in that thing. So a very exciting presentation. And South Sudan to win it all, Lubie. South Sudan. Everybody's like 2 meters plus. which is like 6'5" plus. They must have the tallest team in the history of any basketball assemblage. No,
they're definitely a long team. They definitely gave U.S.
Does anybody weigh more than 140 on the team?
They're also very thin. Yes, that's actually very true.
That was a racist characterization of the
Sudanese.
No,
if you watch the team, they were tall and thin. I mean, that I watched it. I watched parts of that game because I couldn't believe that it was close.
Yeah.
And the players, I don't care what, I mean, they ended up being of the same race, I guess, because it's fucking Africa. But whatever the race is, they were tall and thin. I mean, that's just what the players were.
I think they play on like an 11-foot basket there because they have to. So dropping it down to 10 is just it's so easy for them. It's like any kind of cutback in distance. All right, we're going to get out of here. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, 1 o'clock today. I finally finished off the leftovers I took from Runway 84, Lubie. I have to say that was outstanding, wasn't it? I don't know what you were able to cop out of there, but I was eating the spicy rigatoni, which you're thinking that this place is going to be very high end when it comes to the prices, but there were more than affordable dishes there, and that thing was enough to feed like 4 people. It was incredible. So you get a couple of things. I mean, I think you come away without taking a real beating, depending on your drink selections. And wow, what a great place! That was fantastic. So we will see you at 1 o'clock with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox as we leave you on that.
The time.
Very restrained on your political stuff today, Lubie. Good, though. I mean, you were on the point today. Very much on point. It's 9:03.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.